You. Good morning and a warm word of welcome to today's micro-learning opportunity, how to be ready for anything when things change quickly. Now, this is quite an important topic, I think, and it's about being organized because I think, if you want to be organized, if you want to be ready for anything, you have to be organized. Now, imagine for a moment that you're in a day and you're at the bottom of this waterfall in terms of feeling in control of your day, because a sense that I get is people tell me that when I'm organized, I feel more in control. So would you feel in or out of control? At the bottom of that waterfall, probably not in control. You can just type in or out in the chat, and we can also sort of see, if your keyboards are working well. Okay, in or out of control, just in or out. Okay, and I'm going to continue here. So typically, people tell me that they don't feel in control, and then you have this plea almost that I want to get organized. Althea, out of control. Great. So get organized. But getting organized is sometimes sounds very difficult to do, but it's actually not so difficult to do. So what I would like us to focus on today is just in the short time that we have available. I'd like to leave you with one principle, one thought that you can go and take away today, and you can implement it immediately to help you be more organized. And when you're more organized, you can be ready for anything. You'll see what I mean. So today is not about prioritizing primarily, but getting organized. So to be ready, I think, means I need to be organized, because if I'm not organized, how can I be ready for anything? That's the important other words. So I had a quick look at what Mr. Google had to say about what it means to be organized. And it means make arrangements for or preparations for an event or activity. So you know what's coming, or you may not be knowing what's coming. And in the green box, arrange systematically, order your things. So I'd like to take those as guidelines for our conversation today to be ready for anything. And I think if you look at the principles or the guidelines that you get in the book called Getting Things Done, fantastic book by David Allen. I had the privilege of working with David for a bit as well. The first question about choosing what to do in any given moment is, where am I? You want to be ready for anything. You have to know where you are. And yeah, you can ask Siri, where am I? And Siri will tell you wherever you are, but that's not the thing. So are you at your home, at your office? Where are you? But here's the important thing. And this is one of the principles I'd like to share with you. Now, what is a principle? A principle is like gravity. It works whether you like it or not, and it works for everybody in any industry. So going from the clockwise, you can be working at your computer. You can be in a situation where you're putting out fires. You can have a meeting with somebody. You can be on the beach getting ready to surf. You can drive in your car, or you can be at home. Here's the most important thing that I would like to leave with you today. Wherever you are, be there. If you're at home, be at home. If you're at the office, be at the office. If you're with a child, be with your child. If you are here, so be here today for the next couple of minutes. I think we've got another 14 minutes or so to go. Be here. Forget the emails for now, etc., etc. So how can we do that? And I would like to introduce to you the concept of organizing by context. That's simply, where am I? And I would like to introduce to you the concept of buckets. So you see on the screen, it's almost like this. There's a little cup, and imagine this is a bucket. And you can have a bucket like this. You can have a big bucket like that. You can have different size buckets. And every bucket has a different name. So from left to right, let's imagine that the name of this bucket is at desk. Now, just a comment about the at sign. What does that mean? Two things. One, it shows you where you will be when you take the actions that are lying inside of this cup. Don't worry, I'll show you in a moment how to do that. So when next I am at my desk, I want to do this. Put that reminder in here. And that's a really, really important phrase. When next I am, the second bucket, at home. Maybe that's a nice big bucket. When next I am at home, I want to mow the lawn or whatever I want to do at home. Clockwise, I need to make a phone call. I create a bucket, or I use a bucket called at phone. It means where will I be? And the at also means there's something to do inside of this bucket. It's a shorthand for action. So at phone. And then just at chill. When I'm chilling, hey, what do I want to do when I'm chilling next time? And you can put all kind of reminders in here. So I would like to leave you with this idea of a bucket to help you organize by context. And context is simply, where will I be? Okay, so I'd like to see, just in the chat, please, this concept of organizing by context. I'd like to know who of you currently do something like this. Some of you have been on our Outlook productivity program, which is fantastic. Are you using some kind of organizing system at the moment? Or are you using just one long to-do list? Just in the chat, type either one or two things, please. To do, if you just have one to-do list, one list of things to do, and just put buckets, if you wish, as the other option. Nico says he organizes his work by project. So you have different projects. Nicole, when I, then I, yeah, to do, to Fernanda, to-do list. One to-do list as I have a home office. Great stuff. Yeah, Luther, that's fine. One to-do list. I'd like to encourage you, even if you have working from home, one to-do list. And I will explain this to you in a moment. I'll give you a quick demonstration just how to do it in your Outlook, if you use Outlook, or in paper, if you use paper. Anyway, the concept is take your work and split it up into shorter lists of of context. So here's what I mean by that. What else can you do? If you have one to-do list, I'm not saying it is like this in your case, but if you have one to-do list, then it could be like this. Everything to do. One big puddle. Where do I begin? Where do I focus? Just jump in one side and swim and hope you get to everything. That's when we don't really feel in control. So my recommendation would be the following: is to go from one to-do list to a number of to-do lists. Let's say you have 10 items on your to-do list. Now, you can have a category or a bucket called at home. If that's fine for you, that's fine. How many of these buckets do you need, by the way? Here's a guideline. You may want to make a note of this. As few as possible, but as many as I need. If you can work with at home, at work, that's fine. I just find, for me, this is just a personal thing, for me, it works better if I subdivide it a little bit more. So you can have one to-do list, but subdivide them in little buckets. And I'll give you an illustration in a moment why that works. What this also helps you with. Now, this picture illustrates multitasking, but you know as well as I do that multitasking is a myth. We cannot multitask. If you just type yes or no in the chat, please. Do you believe that you can actually multitask, that you can do more than one thing at the same time? Yes or no? I'll keep my eye on the chat. In the meantime, I'm continuing. Never. No. You can't multitask. Yes, but here's an interesting one. My good friend Kevin Horsley, and he's the master of memory and the master of memorable learning. He helps you remember things like you can't believe. Now, Kevin taught me this thing. He said, you may think you can multitask, but you can never multi-focus. You can only focus on one thing at a time. I hope that makes sense to you. So I see your responses is like you're never multitasking. So you may think you can multitask, but Kevin says, no, you cannot multi-focus. I think that was really a good insight for me. I can only focus on this or focus on that and focus on that. And the other word that I would like to leave with you here, if you think you can multitask, it's not true. You actually switch between tasks. Now you're in email, then you're in phone calls, then you do something, then you go for a walk, then you relax. So you are moving between buckets. Now I'm in this bucket, now I'm in that bucket, now I'm in this bucket, now I'm in this bucket. They all have different names. So when you want to be ready for anything, when things change quickly, that's why I do recommend that you use multiple buckets or multiple categories to organize your to-do list. Have multiple to-do lists so that, let's say I'm working in my phone list at the moment and my phone dies. And I have my other bucket organized with things to do at computer. I can leave my phone bucket and I can quickly jump into the computer bucket and I can work immediately. I don't have to reorganize, or I don't have to go through a list of 20 things to see, what I can do next. So my recommendation, my thought at the moment is organize your work by context. That will, then you're prepared and you are ready for anything. Doesn't matter what happens. You have an inventory of things to do, because a while ago you said, Here's something to do. Where will I be when I do this? I will be at my phone. So here's my phone bucket. When next I'm at my phone, please remember, plop, and you pop it in there to do this. Okay. So does this all make sense? Just type sense in the chat, please, if what we're doing at the moment makes some sense to you. Okay, so I see it makes sense so far. If it doesn't make sense, just like no sense or nonsense, and then it will also be a guideline for me. Now, here's another way of organizing your stuff. And this is from Stephen Covey's work, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I see this makes sense to those of you responding at the moment. Good stuff, good stuff. So let's just play around with Covey's time matrix. And above the line, you see there will be a collection of things that are important. And below the line, you can write things that aren't important. What's the separating thing is what matters most to you. That separates what's important or not. But also, we have urgent stuff. So if you look at this, to the left of the line, urgent, 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 and to the right, not urgent. And if you combine these, you get 4 groups of activities. So let's say you have your actions for the day and you want to organize, never mind prioritize, you just want to organize your actions into these categories. That's what you can do. And I'll show you in a moment how you can use this easily in Outlook or in any Gmail or whatever you use, paper as well. I'm going to make a illustration just now of paper. Let me show that. But so Covey calls urgent and important Q1 or quadrant 1. Important stuff that's not urgent, like being on this webinar, is quadrant 2. Quadrant 3 is urgent, not important, like other people's priorities. And quadrant 4 is not urgent, not important. So what have we got now? I introduced you to the concept of buckets. And a bucket is by context. And in this case, we're looking at the 4 quadrants. You can have a quadrant, pardon me, you can have a bucket for each of these quadrants. And the name of this bucket could be Q1, another one could be Q2, etc. So how does this work? And those of you who use Outlook, doesn't matter if you use Outlook or if you don't use Outlook, it's immaterial. I'd like to share with you and show you here's how you can use your organizing system to help you. So, for example, if I have a task, and it seems as if you are able to see my screen at the moment. So let's say my action is I need to call Nico. Thanks, Nico, for being on the call. You give me a nice short name. So call Nico. So now I must decide in which of my collection of buckets I'm going to put this reminder. So I tell Outlook by using the categorize function, please Outlook put this into my phone bucket. And you'll see it's a little bit small, but at the top left-hand corner, you see at phone. So if I now save and close this task, and I've organized my calendar so that my to-do list broken up in my little buckets or categories showing on the right-hand side. And here you see various bucket names, category names, delegated, discuss with, phone, waiting for, projects, etc. Now, let's say I've got a few minutes now, and David Allen suggests, where am I? I'm at my phone. How much time do I have? 10 minutes. Yeah, let's make a few phone calls. All I need to do is I open the phone bucket or category, and as you can see, that opens. And here's a list that I pre-populated this list. That's the beauty of this. When you think of something, you put it in the right bucket, and it stays there until you next jump into this thing. So here is a call Nico, and I can just double click on that, and I can make the phone call because I could have made any notes I can make in here. So I think that's the benefit of organizing your stuff by bucket, by category, by context. And in this way, if I now called Nico, I can just click on the flag there and it disappears. So I've now done that. So it empties it, it takes it away from the bucket. So what I'm trying to illustrate here for you is that when things change rapidly, as they do, the one moment you're in your phone calls, the next moment you are walking around, the next moment this, if you are ready, if you have organized your stuff, and I do recommend organizing by category or by bucket, you can rapidly change. I hope that makes sense to you. I just want to do something here in a moment. Just give me a second. And I will also show you how you can apply the same principle of being where you are using a simple paper system. I'm just going to draw something here. And I'm going to make it very simple. Let's say, okay, now I've got this piece of paper and there are 6 blocks on it. And this is my, let's say, my to-do list for the day or the week. I can have a block here, and I can call that block at phone. I can have another block over here, and I can call it at email. I'm not trying to win the writing competition here, but you get the idea. So this is my bucket for phone calls. This side. This is my bucket for emails. So whether you use a piece of paper or whether you use Outlook, the important thing, I think, is if you want to be ready for anything, you need to be organized. And that's what I shared with you today is just a way of being organized. It's not necessarily, it's definitely not the only way. There's no such thing as, the only way. Okay, what's next? We're at the end of our time together. I would like you to just do a little poll, please. If you wouldn't mind, I'm putting a poll on your screen at the moment. And the question is just this topic that I discussed with you today. Maybe some of you are familiar with the idea of a brown bag lunch. Now, in the old days, when people had, they got together over lunchtime for something, they had people brought their lunch in a brown bag. So it was an informal meeting and people got together. Nowadays, all of this is happening online. So you can just respond to the poll. If you don't want to respond, you can just close it. But I'm just curious to know, would you be interested in taking this topic that we discussed today and doing a brown bag lunch in your company? How this works is you get people online and you organize something and they are all there and you share it with them. Okay, thank you for those responses. And I'm going back to the chat. I'll have a look at that afterwards. Okay, so that's it for today. And I want to thank you once again for joining us today. And if you want to get in touch with me about this, I'm also thinking of doing a little webinar, an online workshop on this topic of being organized and being ready for anything. You've got my email address on screen. You can just send me an email to gerrit@789.co.za. And in that subject line, you can just put PMP. That's like for part of the project Productivity Mastery program. So if you would like me to get in touch with you and keep you up to date about anything that happens about that, more than welcome. Just you can just let me know. So thank you everybody for being here today. And I'm going to stop the recording now, but I'm going to stay online. So if you're watching the replay, thank you very much for that. And have fun, and I'll be in touch with you.